across the street from the radio station that broadcasts all the country western music. So I'm a country western fan.
Who do you like in particular? Any artists that you like right now? Or
I like Johnny Cash.
Yeah. God rest his soul.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's several girls, I can't think of one right now, but there were several girl wrestlers. And I liked, let's see, I'll think of it, you'll remind me of it.
Yep.
He used to play golf with Wahoo McDaniels, and Wahoo called himself the Super Indian. And then there was the Super Mex, who was
Lee Trevino.
Lee Trevino, and they played in Dallas, and there was a country western singer that was black.
Charlie Pride?
That's him. They played together. Charlie Pride. I like Charlie Pride's music.
Very good, very good. Here's a question for you. Describe to me what you think is paradise. What's paradise to you?
Well, it's funny you should ask that, because in 2 weeks, my wife and I are going to Hawaii. And I wrestled in Hawaii in '56, I wrestled there in '62, and I wrestled there in '70. And when I say I wrestled there, I lived there for 4 months. And I was very relaxed there. My day was get up, check the sun, go to the beach, get a board, and go out surfing. And so that, to me, was the one time that I was really relaxed. Now, somebody says, well, why are you going to Hawaii now? Why don't you go in the wintertime? I said, well, my wife and I looked at our schedules, and there was a window in my schedule between this interview here and what I've got coming up. I coach high school swimming starting in November, but we're going over there, and I'm actually going to, if you watched Ronald Reagan's funeral, the announcer said that they had been planning this funeral for 10 years. Well, when I was in Hawaii in 1956, I witnessed a Beach Boys funeral, which was they cremate the ashes, they go out in an outrigger canoe, and they ride a wave in, and when they get the good wave coming in, they pour the ashes into the wave and take that wave all the way to the beach. And they beach the canoe, they grab a surfboard, and they go back out, and then they get on the same area where the waves are breaking, and they say, okay, Dick, kick us up a wave, and they ride a wave in. So that's gonna be where I'm gonna make sure that it's legal to put ashes in there. I don't figure on dying yet.
It's not gonna happen for a long time, folks, please understand.
But I don't plan on dying, but I wanna make it simple for my wife and my kids, and it's in my will. You cremate me, go to Hawaii, take the money out of whatever I got left, stay in a beach hotel, get somebody to get you a canoe, ride that canoe in, and all my kids can surf. They're gonna have to teach my wife how to surf, maybe. But she can paddle on a board and say, okay, come on, honey, give me a push.
That's paradise. And then one final question from Shoot from the Fist. Me and you, we leave this set. All of a sudden, a year rolls around. I happen to be eating at Ilio DePaulo's Restaurant and Lounge, and so do you. We don't see each other for a year from now. I see you in the lobby. Dick, Mr. Destroyer, there you are. How have you been? What have you been up to? What are you going to tell me?
I'm gonna say, I don't know who the hell you are.
That's exactly right, folks. Remember it now. That's it. I was waiting for that answer. That's right. That's what it's all about with Dick, the Destroyer Byron. I'm Joey the Bruiser Tanner Brusso. Let's take a look at this and we'll be right back.
赤コーナー245パウンドザ・デストロイヤー
方力道山長男桃田義弘リングアナウンサーによりまして両選手の紹介です。
ジャイアント馬場
学生時代はアマチュアレスそしてアメリカンフットボールで鳴らしました。インテリレスラーのザ・デストロイヤー。
このスリーパーホールドであるか、チンロックであるか、反則のチョークであるかという、難しいですね。
そうですね。大きくすくい投げから32番ロケット砲場外転落デストロイヤー。選曲我に有利と見ましたか。ジャイアント馬場ジャイアンチョップカウンター打ちから覆いかぶさるカウント2。
ここは慎重にいってもらいたいですね。
はい、1本目先勝の後キック攻撃からタイミングを外しますデストロイヤー。もう一度基礎工事からフックドロップを自爆させましたジャイアント馬場。抱え上げるかアトミックドロップデストロイヤー倒れ込む覆いかぶさるジャイアント馬場カウント2。もう一度かアトミックドロップしかし足を取った足4の字かデストロイヤーも懸命であります。馬場も懸命しかし足4の字固めフィギュア4レッグロックリング中央逆に上樋口ジャイアント馬場ギブアップ足4の字固め鮮やかに決まりました。
Wrestling fans, we are back. I'm Joey the Bruiser Tanner Brusso, and we are talking to Dick Beyer. Or are we? Let's talk about this. 1962 was the year he's being recognized more and more in the West Coast and in the Far East, in Japan. And now I have with you, with us, with me, the Destroyer himself. This is, from here on, you are the Destroyer.
Well, I might come in as Dr. X later on.
It could work either way.
Yeah.
Go through that process with me, the Destroyer. Now that you realize that this wrestling gig that you had is now world-renowned, not just in the U.S., but now in Japan, how did that make you feel at the time, now that you know you can have world exposure?
Well, at the time, I told the promoter in Los Angeles, Jules Strongbow, I says, you gotta be kidding. I says, I don't wanna wear a mask. I says, for 8 years, I wrestled as Dick Beyer, and I got an 8x10 picture in Ring Wrestling magazine, and now you want me to cover up my good-looking face? I says, well, he says, try it for 4 weeks. If you don't like it, we'll take it off. 16 months later, he tried to take it off, and I said, not tonight. And not tomorrow night, because that is the night that it paid off that I could wrestle. They wanted somebody to go in the ring and beat me, but there wasn't anybody around on that particular night that could beat me. And anyway, how did I get the man? You know, in maybe January, February, somewhere in there, in Hawaii, it's just 1962, I wrestled against Freddie Blassie as Dick Beyer. And the fellow who does Monday Night Football, Al Michaels, was a TV announcer in Hawaii. And they had a Sunday, he was from Hawaii. He had a Sunday afternoon show. And we were interviewed on that show, Freddie Blassie and Dick Beyer. And unbeknownst to me, midway through the interview, that we're wrestling on Wednesday night at the Honolulu Civic Auditorium. Blassie comes over the top of the interview table and whacks me, and we have a little Donnybrook. Al Michaels didn't know it either, so.
Do you believe in miracles,
So,
folks?
that's right. That's exactly right. Hey, that's a great expression, Joe. That's right. That particular thing, Blassie, we had the match on Wednesday night. It was a sold-out arena. Promoters were all happy. Blassie was happy. I was tickled to death because I don't remember you asked me if I won or lost, I don't remember. He went back to Los Angeles and he told Jules Strongbow, the promoter over there, you gotta bring Dick Beyer into Los Angeles. He's the greatest baby face in the world. You know what a baby face is?
He's a good guy.
That's right, he's a good guy. He said he's the best. 6 weeks later, Blassie comes back. In that little window, you talked about the effect of television earlier in our interview.
Right.
They started television in Japan doing wrestling during that 6 week period. And during that time, I went from being a babyface to a conceited heel. I told them that if you want to get a good education, forget about Hawaii and forget about the West Coast. You gotta go to the East Coast and go to where the orange is, and you'll be intelligent and sensational. Anyway, I went that route, and it got over big. So Blassie, now I'm training Neff Miava to wrestle Blassie, because that's the next bout that Blassie has. And I was training him live on television, and I got rough and tough. I said, Blassie's gonna be rough and tough. Lord Blears, who was the announcer over there, and Gentleman Ed Francis, who was the promoter, says, you can't be that rough with him. I said, Blassie is gonna be that rough. I'm gonna be rough. So here's what happened. They took me out of the trainer, and Blears took over as the trainer for Neff Miava. I says, then I come back on interview, then I'm gonna be in Freddie Blassie's corner. So now the night of the match, it's sold out again. This time it's sold out with Samoans all over the place. And during the match, Blassie is just burying this Neff Miava. And the Samoans are starting to stomp. And they're starting to gather in the exits. And the promoter, Ed Francis, comes up to me, he says, you gotta tell Freddie we're gonna have lots of trouble here. So I whispered to Freddie, I said, Freddie, I says, sometime when that referee gets close, hit him and get disqualified and raise his hand. Otherwise, we're not getting out of here alive. So
You gotta make a run for it.
So anyway, Freddie hits the referee and they raise his hand. People are happy, the Samoans are happy. While they're all happy like that, we get out of the room, back to the dressing room. Anyway, now he goes back to LA and he tells Strongbow, he says, you can bring him in as a heel or a baby face. Doesn't make any difference.
Right. What do you prefer?
I prefer to be a heel because it's a lot easier. You can lose every night as a heel. And if you're a good heel, a nasty heel, the people will come back to see you get beat every night. But if you're a baby face and you get beat, the people will say, don't go to the Buffalo Bills. If they don't win, the people won't come to the stadium. That happened last year. But anyway.
May happen again this year too.
Yeah, that's right. But anyway, as a baby face or as a clean wrestler, it's very important that you win. As a heel, it didn't make any difference. As long as I went in the ring and created enough commotion to make the people come back again. One point I give you that I haven't told too many people was
Exclusive, folks.
I wrestled Billy Red Lyons. Did Did you know he was my brother-in-law?
Not until now.
Billy was my brother-in-law.
We were married to sisters for years, and then Dick got smart and he divorced that one.
And we are wrestling a 3 or 4 or 5 week program in San Antonio, Texas. And we are selling out every week. Billy was a great wrestler. If this gets up to Canada, Billy, I just want to say hello and hope your wife is doing good and your kids. But anyway, Billy was a great wrestler, and wrestling against Billy, we made a lot of money together. So we're wrestling in San Antonio, Texas. Magazine comes out that the publicity got caught up with it. Says, Dick Beyer and Billy Red Lions are brother-in-laws. So the promoter comes in the dressing room and he says, holy Christ, what are we gonna do tonight?
This is like the day of the Inquirers now.
Yes, it's it. So anyway, I says, well, don't get so uptight about it. Just the line to get into matches was already around the corner. So he went out, the promoter goes out now, some lady comes up to him and says, hey, come here. I found out that Billy Red Lions and the Destroyer are brother-in-laws, and boy, I wouldn't miss tonight's bout because there's nothing better than an in-law fight.
Sibling rivalry, that's right.
Oh, you knocked my watch off. Look at that.
We still got the time, folks.
Hey, wait a
Fire.
minute. He just broke my Orange Bowl watch. I'm gonna have.
It's the one.
That's
Look
at
see,
that.
this is the-
51 years old.
Look at that
And
band.
you broke it.
Well, the bands always come, but look at that.
Look at
Sheriff, that's a problem. We gotta get time, stand still on this interview with Dick the Destroyer Beyer. And oh yeah, we gotta get that fixed, folks. Let's get that fixed for Dick Beyer. real quick. Here's a question I have though for you.
Okay.
As we talk about that.
Okay.
Wearing a mask, and now you were used to as Dick Beyer. Now you're wearing a mask. What were your first impressions knowing that you're going to start going through, maybe this is going to be the jump you needed? Or did you think it was just going to be a little temporary? What was your
Oh,
first
I thought it was gonna be temporary. I didn't, like I said earlier in the interview, I says, try it for 4 weeks. Well, after 4 weeks, my income doubled, and then I won the WWA championship for Blassie. I went to Japan, and I got the biggest payoff I ever got when I wrestled one match in Japan. Now, what was the payoff? Yeah, it wasn't as big as I thought it was gonna be because Jules Strongbow took a third, and the great Togo, who booked the match, he took a third, and I got a third. But my third was still bigger than any payoff I ever got. So, and they wanted to take the mask off, and Edouard Carpentier, he came up to me. I wrestled him out in Los Angeles. He says, Dick, he says, don't ever take the mask off. He says, you are known now around the country. Every magazine has got your picture in it. Don't ever take the mask off, and don't let anybody know who you are. So,
The integrity of wrestling came with you and it stayed with you.
yeah, well, somebody that was a little smarter and a big star, Edouard Carpentier, come up to me and told me that. Blassie told me it. And I would say that the couple wrestlers now, early in my career, you had mentioned it, I wrestled Lou Thez, who was the NWA champion. And you mentioned that I wrestled Blassie, and you mentioned that I wrestled Gorgeous George. And we'll talk about that.
We are going to talk about
We're
that.
going to talk about that. You might show a picture or two of Gorgeous George with no hair.
And there's a reason why he had no hair. That was it. 1962. Hair versus mask. And it was a match, I guess, for the times. Something that was never done previous to that point. Take us through that match and how it ended up being Gorgeous George got the snip. Talk about it.
I was on my way from Los Angeles to wrestle in Bakersfield. And I found out that Gorgeous George had a beer bar on Sepulveda Avenue on the way towards Bakersfield. Sepulveda runs all the way from San Diego up through San Francisco, Sepulveda Avenue. It's kind of like Main Street in Buffalo. It runs from Buffalo all the way to Albany and beyond, Route 5. So I had an opportunity. I left early to drive up there. I was by myself. So I went by Gorgeous George's bar, and when I went in, alongside the doorway were life-size mannequins of Gorgeous George in his robe. And in his bar, which was long and narrow, there was pictures of 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50 of every movie star in Hollywood with Gorgeous George. He was the biggest name in pro wrestling and on television. It was Gorgeous George and Milton Berle back in 49, 50, 51, when television first came out.
Right.
And he even looked good in black and white. I don't know about Milton Berle, but
Well,
anyway.
that's right, that's beside the point.
But anyway, I says, there was nobody in the bar. Just Gorgeous George and his valet, who was his third wife. His first wife took him for a lot of money, his second wife. His third wife, he didn't have any money. When I met him, and this is in 1962, he had this bar, which wasn't doing any business, and he said, I want to talk to you. I said, I don't have time, but I'll stop on the way back. He said, well, we'll be crowded on the way back. I said, that's okay. So I come back, I stopped again, there's nobody in there. It's about midnight now. So he says, Dick, he says, I need a payday. Can you talk Jules Strongbow into booking a match between the Destroyer and Gorgeous George, the Mask versus the Hair? I says, I'll ask him. I says, but you're gonna be bald. He says, I don't care. He says, I says, because you can't beat me, and I'm not letting you beat me. So anyway, he says, I will bring my two barbers that he's had for years to the matches, and they'll be sitting ringside. If you beat me, they'll cut my hair off. So that's exactly what happened. It took a little coaxing because Jules Strongbow didn't think it was gonna draw.